from the Cyber Hub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the Cyber Hub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
What is up, security gang, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Cyber Hub podcast. I'm live in Israel with my good buddy, Demi Ben Ari. He is the head of security, CTO, co-founder here at Panorays, and we're in their offices in Tel Aviv, which, by the way, I did see the building flying in.
Yeah, and it's orange, huge and orange. It's
so
like weird to see.
I grew up in Denver. You know, I did like a good part of my life in Denver. Denver Broncos are orange. And so anyone who's a Bronco fan who's listening, like all my childhood friends who listen to the show will tell you, oh, you're in an orange building because I didn't like the Broncos. But I'm sure they would love seeing an orange building. I took a picture of it and I'll post that as in the post edit of the show for all of y'all to see just how awesome this building really is. And by the way, you see it driving on the highway. Like we were driving up to Jerusalem yesterday and I was like, hey, look, there's the Panorays building. You can see it off Ayalon. So it's brilliant. Demi and I are going to be talking to all of y'all today about generative AI.
Yeah.
Good, the bad, the ugly, and the truth.
And whatever will happen in the future, probably.
You know, so this is an ultimate villain quote in today's world. But Vladimir Putin, about 5-6 years ago, said, whoever wins the AI battle wins the digital supremacy race for the next decade. Now that we've seen generative AI and ChatGPT, can you disagree with Putin's statement?
Not at all. Not at all. And I think it can take actually a twist to both directions. Firstly, adopting technology. He kind of meant that and alluded to that whoever will adopt the technology will leverage the abilities that it actually brings, will be the winner. But with that comes, again, the flip side of the mega, I would say, landscape of threats that actually come, both in the aspect of privacy, security, technology, and all of these areas, because the ability is not always homegrown, right? And all of the large companies, and you mentioned like ChatGPT as of an OpenAI product, right? And Microsoft right now acquired them. Google and Amazon and Alibaba, everybody has this ability, I think, like going 10 years back, right? Even technology companies actually had created some kind of implication with AI and generative AI with the evolution that it actually brings. But again, not everybody has the resources to actually create that. So what most, I would say, technology companies and even not like high-tech companies, etc., will do, they will buy this ability from a provider. OpenAI was one of these providers, right? And then everything bad can start happening, like all of the third-party services that we're using on the day-to-day basis that we pass our information to, and also like give them access to our information internally.
See, I'm really hesitant of AI, and I'll tell you why. So one, I pay OpenAI. I use the tool.
It's a great tool.
A lot. I've used it for a few things. One, I've used it to help me fix my posts, like to make more interesting content. It does not write all my content, though. I want to be crystal clear about that. My content is still my content. I still write it, but I use AI sometimes to give me I'll write a paragraph and say, hey, AI, give me a better way to make this paragraph sound better. And it does an amazing job doing it. My concern around generative AI is, and I'm going down the threat road here, right? Have you seen how many mobile apps are being promoted as an open AI mobile app have AI? Like that's scary. As a practitioner, I'm scared of that. I wonder how many of like employees and just random people are downloading fake AI apps and thinking they're working with AI.
Yeah, and it can be a human AI behind the scenes and eventually like not getting the benefit of what they're offering. And again, because it's a hype cycle, like most hype cycles. And I think that even not the fake on the other end of something that does not give you the value that you're purchasing right now, how can you evaluate between both? If I give you a fake app and a real app, will you, as a common like person, like leveraging technology, will you be able to actually like differentiate between them? How can you evaluate them?
I don't think you can. I mean, so generative AI to me, as a practitioner, has unbelievable use cases, right? And you and I were talking about this kind of pre-recording. Yeah. We've talked more pre-recording than we probably will on this recording. in this episode, but we've got plenty more content that Demi and I will bring you, I promise. But there is an aspect that I think is extremely critical when it comes to generative AI that's being missed from a threat perspective. It's not just the fake AI or human AI, it's the data sharing within
Exactly.
that AI, right? Because
Mhm.
you kind of brought it up, and I've been processing privacy, and then I'm
Yeah.
going like, well, forget privacy. Let's talk data security. You and I both
Exactly.
kind of wear two titles, right? We're both a CTO and a CSO. You're respectively at Panorays. I'm at
Yeah.
AP4, right? And so we both of us kind of get that sense of, well, we've got to run technology, but we've got to worry about data security a whole
Exactly.
lot. How do you see AI threatening data security? Like, what's your biggest fear around AI and data security?
I would say that in a not politically correct way, human stupidity does not have any boundaries. And again, I'm not saying that because people are mean, because they don't exactly know how to classify a risk. So when somebody takes their code base and asks the generative AI, please make this code better, probably they will do a pretty decent job because they have processed a lot of information and done all of these things over and over again. But right now, you just gave all of your IP again to another provider. You have no clue how they're storing that, right? The actual like implementation of the technology itself. And assuming you already identified that this like data leakage happened, how do you revert that? I don't think that there's a way today because everything is right now being classified in the model, right?
Right.
Everything is learning. So that can be detached. I don't know a mechanism today that actually does that. And I'm working closely also as an advisor to a lot of, AI based, machine learning based startup companies. And technically, it's really hard to achieve that ability, but also going the other way around, not only the model, where is this data stored, right? Are they storing this data? Maybe they can be processing it and removing it. You have no clue because right now you purchased a service for, I don't know, $29.99 or something like that. And you have literally like nobody to speak to. So right now, when I'm speaking to our developers in the company, etc., I'm literally like giving them boundaries of what can be achieved. And we're a security product, right? We're recommending things to our customers of how to remediate different kind of things that we can find from the external footprint perimeter, open source intelligence, and all of these things. So if I give the IP of the company or something like that to improve the product, I can do that both internally with the code base, other stuff that we also process in the information. But I gave them the boundaries of no way in hell that you're giving our customer data to that entity, no matter like how secure they are or whatever, even if it's open AI that were purchased by Microsoft and it's a huge company and yada yada, all of that. But if it's something that is a general case recommendation about cybersecurity practices and how to remediate things or even create internal processes that are in the out-facing product, right? This is something that I can take that data. This is our proprietary data that we've created and maybe refine that, right? And create something that is much more efficient and effective, I would say, for cybersecurity practitioners. We have a cyber support team that gives, answers and sometimes recommendations to customers. So basically, it actually makes sense for us to take our own data. This is something that we own and we've created as an IP. It's not the crown jewels of the company, right? Because it's like basic security practices that you need to remediate and create some kind of mitigation around that. And that's great because right now, if I can phrase that better, explain that, broaden that, because we're taking the masses crowdsourcing type of information, that's great. But again, it's a big no-no of our customer data, as an example, I don't know, security questionnaire information that we're passing to that AI to answer better security questionnaires.
To me, you and I were talking about people using ChatGPT potentially or AI. Let me give you buzzwords here, to answer security questionnaires, and I'm wondering, could we reverse that? Meaning recognize that AI answered the security questionnaire and disqualify it, right? This questionnaire wasn't done by human, it was done by AI.
Seriously, that's spot on because I had this conversation, I think, with 3 different CISOs in the past like 2.5, 3 weeks. And one of the processes that are being conducted in the audit process, right? Or the workflows, I would say, that happen is the communication between the auditor and the receiving end CISO or the security practitioner. The way that you respond to that, right? I would say time that it takes you to answer the quality of the information that you're providing, etc., and also the evidence are the things that are the interaction between me, the auditor, and the audited entity. Literally, the CISOs that are customers of ours told us, don't help the vendor, the third party, because I want to see the interaction itself, right? And if you autocomplete, it makes them lazy, and they basically do not provide probably either correct information, or they don't do that and invest effort in that. And I'm like, it's counterintuitive, because you want to make this process efficient. So there is a middle.
But you're also assessing risk.
I know.
Right? So you're assessing risk. And the thing about it is, a human could say yes, no, other, right? Or yes, no, kind of, and then provide
partial
detail,
or something like that,
right?
Of course.
Where they go, well, we're not necessarily SOC 2 compliant, but we do have X, Y, and Z, and here's the policies attached to it.
Exactly.
I don't know that that's something that AI could potentially do. By the way,
maybe, and it's frightening to actually think about it.
To me, the scary part is, you and I've talked about my security questionnaires. My security questionnaires are designed based on my Intel background, right? So I ask the same questions 5 times, 5 different ways to see if the answers match up. And I've got kind of like a solve. I've got an index to solve it.
To actually
right?
cross-reference between the questions.
So are they consistent in the answer, or are they inconsistent in the answer? And if they're inconsistent, then we ask for evidence.
Exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. If it's 5 different answers, then you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And now you pose a risk to my business. Now I take that to whoever the owner of that relationship is, and go and say, look, we definitely want to help you get this business in the door. We want to help your team do it. Here's the risks that we see underlying coming from this vendor. Here's what we're asking of them to do. And here's where we need your help to make sure we get it, so that we can sign off on this organization to have access to our data or support our business in any sort of way. And that's very difficult with AI, because I think AI would pick up on the fact that there's 5 questions, because it's smart enough, it's programmed to be a chess player.
Exactly.
Humans are programmed to be checkers.
To respond quickly and to close the gap like immediately.
Right.
By the way, I really liked something that it was like 3 years ago that we spoke about it. The whole idea of wearing the hat of the BISO right now, right? And trying to offer around the relationship, right? This is something that you won't be able to actually achieve with AI in any manner, in my opinion. And ask, or maybe offer, I would say, the third-party entity to provide services to actually have this relationship in a much more secure manner. And basically, yield money to your business as the BISO of providing them, I don't know if it's MDR services or other types of things, if you have a large enough team. Because, practitioners like doing these type of interaction and relationship management, it sometimes can be a one-man or one-woman show, right?
Yep.
And then you don't have a team that actually does this relationship. So maybe even on the auditor part, leveraging AI can be something really good.
Well, so we've kind of danced around the idea of threats and goods, right? But the threats, I think, from AI are greater than the good that can come out of it today.
I agree.
And I think it's because it's so easy to be leveraged. So I'll tell you something very interesting. One of the things I like to do often is, whenever there's a new technology trend, I like to go into the App Store and see apps that use ChatGPT or AI in their description. And I found an alarming threat that I think is dangerous for humanity in dating apps that say,
wow,
girls won't reply to you, AI will.
That's awful. It's taking all humanity, I think, from the type of interaction that people have. And it's weird, really.
I don't want to live in a virtual world.
Me neither, by the way.
Right? Like this whole metaverse kind of creation of you putting on a VR headset and walking around metaverse. Listen.
I don't see that transformation.
I got to tell you, man, I love Tel Aviv, right? You know that. I mean, coming in here today, you drive around, you see the city, you're watching people. People are so friendly in Israel in general, right? So you stop, you get a cup of coffee somewhere or anything, and people are just so damn friendly. Last time I was here last year, I was riding a scooter around town, and, people are just friendly everywhere you go. And I can't imagine having to do that in VR without smelling the ocean, right?
It's weird. I agree.
It's weird, right? Or without seeing, the variety and the different, I don't think there's, maybe excluding New York and London, you hear as many languages in a street
Yeah, I
as you do
agree.
in Tel Aviv,
I agree.
right?
I'm going back also to which like country I visited. Probably you're right. Yeah.
Like I'm thinking London and New York are probably the most diverse big cities in the Western Hemisphere,
Mm-hmm. I would
right?
agree with that. Yeah.
Where you would probably have where you could probably walk one city block and hear at least a dozen languages.
Easy. Mm-hmm.
You can't do that in Moscow. You can't do that in Shanghai,
Yeah. Good
right?
luck with that.
You might be able to do it in Australia, maybe in Melbourne. Melbourne's pretty diverse, but
I know Canada, maybe.
I don't
Maybe,
like
but
Canada doesn't count as a country though.
yeah,
I don't,
but I do agree with you. I think that there can be a lot of good out of that. I would say even like online translation that actually can occur, and similarities between something that can help with the communication between entities. But again, when we're looking on the technology aspect, it's cool. When we're looking on the threat landscape and how everything is pretty much exposed there right now with the way that it's implemented today, okay, it's bad. Okay.
Yeah.
And I can like revert back. Let's go, I don't know, 25 years back on the beginning of the web, right? The internet. Everything was kind of like open, right? What's SSL? What's encryption? Like, who is worried about it? And right now, you can understand that it's like the basic bare bone things that you have to implement when you do some kind of web interaction between two entities. And nobody looked on it in the past. Online, like, commercials, right? Something that you buy and all of the marketplaces, etc., and all of the providers of goods. Today, right now, you're swiping your credit card, or like paying with Bitcoin, or like with super complicated things that here you have like a ton of problems. Back then it wasn't like that, right? Nobody was worried. You didn't, like, most people maybe did not even have credit cards, so that problem did not exist. But the technology is practically the same, right? It's like passing information from one location to another, but it changed, and I think it will evolve like generative AI and other AI mechanisms will evolve.
So the difference, I think, between generative AI to every other technological breakthrough we've had in the last 2 decades, right, is while everything else was reliant on the evolution of technology to support its growth, right? Think of cloud computing. It wasn't just, okay, we're going to use someone else's data center and make our own data centers. It was, we need to have more powerful servers, and we need to be able to have better OSs to manage these servers. So the growth of cloud was limited because of hardware challenges, because of location challenges, because of the time it took to build it.
Everything, yeah.
Right? Generative AI is the complete opposite of that. Literally in the word of Gen AI, generative AI, meaning it regenerates. Remember that movie with Scarlett Johansson, Lucy, where she takes this drug and she starts to regenerate brain cells on her own to a level where she's utilizing 100% of her brain? That's a generative AI. That's what I think most people don't realize is generative AI is not limited by any sort of hardware or software type of deal, because it's constantly learning and feeding its brain, and it's evolving. And as it evolves, it'll evolve based on data it sees. And I think this is going to be the greatest challenge of our decades and of the next decade, and probably the next generation. Like, I think our kids, you and I were talking about our kids earlier this morning, right? I think our kids are going to have to deal with it, because there's already been cases that I've seen where security researchers have shown me how AI will bring an answer that's misinformation. But because it's cited in so many sources, because it's cited somewhere, generative AI says, well, it's coming from this source, and I'm not going to name sources and say this is one reliable. I'm not getting into that debate, right? But because it does that, then you're getting false information. Now, if you're relying on the fact that AI is supposed to be nonpartisan, non-partial, giving you the facts,
no, I won't.
It's not. But there are people who are being told that.
That's blunt lie, I must say.
I agree, but there are people today who
believe in that. I agree.
Believe in that wholeheartedly, right? And to me, this is one of the greatest threats that exist out of AI, and add a generative AI. Because when I think of cybersecurity, a lot of people always think about IT and network. And I'm beyond that, right?
There's a layer. Yeah, exactly.
There's the modern CISO, and the modern CISO. I did a talk a few years ago on this, and one of the things I said about the modern CISO was the modern CISO is no longer an IT guy who sits in a side room where all the IT overflow stuff sits in his office,
or only a process guy, which that also existed, right?
Guy.
A policy, yeah,
right. The modern CISO today is someone who understands that cybersecurity is no longer, or it's no longer vertical, it's horizontal.
Exactly.
Right.
To all domains.
To all domains. You have to be concerned about your employees' personal identity just as much as you have about your company's security.
It's intercombined because they live, they're like
right.
An entity that actually has a lot of
correct. Especially with the diverse, spread out work from home workforce that we have today. Not everyone is R2O. Even if you are R2O, you're only R2O 2 to 3 days a week, and then the rest of the time you're home.
Exactly.
Right. And so I find that to be the challenge with AI is it's the impact it's going to have on humanity. And that goes back to the apps I saw that say date humans. Humans won't answer you, AI will. You can still chat with someone and get pickup lines and understand how to interact with humans by playing around with the AI. And to me, I think that influence is going to be more disastrous than any cyber threat that's going to come out of AI. Because I feel like that's going to take away the magic that humans have when it comes to that interaction. You talked about the BISO. I think you nailed it on the head right there, Demi, right? That BISO,
no, this is an amazing interaction, right? And I'm seeing more and more of these types of roles actually coming up, and not only in the largest banks in the world, right?
Well, if you think of it, right, if you're a cybersecurity vendor today, honestly, right, and they have these field CISO roles.
Yeah, exactly.
Modern day sales guy with the CISO tag on it.
Yeah.
Hire BISOs.
I agree. They will be able to actually connect the actual business of the company, right, to the technology aspect
and the business
the
of the customer.
I agree.
Right. And don't put them under a quota.
No, it's a different type of role.
It's a different type of role. You know, and with all due respect to the field CISOs that are out there doing the work that they do amazing work, and we definitely, you know, like I'm not dissing them or the job that they do.
I agree.
But I feel like smart vendors should go down that BISO role, because I feel like that BISO role, by the way, is also less intimidating.
Of course, it's much more friendly, and he understands you, and mostly like it's more, I would say, on the pre-sale engineering, but drop and omit the sales portion, right? And it's more like somebody that helps you to drive your business.
Retention.
Yeah. And so it's more on the customer success related type of entity. And I would like to also address one thing. We mentioned the whole like benefits that we can get from AI, and there are a ton more. We discussed that in the past, prior to the recording. But the most important part on the threats is how to actually scope that and maybe even create some kind of safeguards around the implementation of the technology. We kind of mentioned that it learns, right? It generates itself and generates the way that it actually works. So how do you create some kind of scope to that entity, or maybe even to the abilities that you give? OpenAI and ChatGPT as an implementation of generative AI and conversational AI was something that everybody poured a ton of information to. It was skewed. You know what? It wasn't skewed. It was like too general. Having to implement that in a financial institution, as an example, okay, maybe I'd rather not go to the general implementation. I would train that in a self-hosted solution, right? This is like taking that to technology. And then I will drive the information inside there, what is relevant. And right now I scoped it, right? I also gave it boundaries because it can't expand out of the financial like realm around the data that I'm providing. I will create much more precise data. Maybe I won't be able to answer all of the questions because it's not general, but this is great because right now you will create the human interaction around it of a feedback loop. And a person will be half manual and will be understanding how the data flows and driving it back to the machine.
See, you bring up here, I think, how the brain of AI is going to have to function within an organization.
Yeah.
Right.
And becoming a brain, right? Because right now it's not something that is iterative in the matter of the developers actually creating, changing. It can happen instantly.
See, I think this is the mind-blowing aspect of the engineering part of AI, right? In generative AI. If you take companies that are 20 or 30 years old that have billions of lines of code at this point, billions, right? Their GitHub or looks insane, right? They've got projects. Exactly. Take a company like Microsoft. You
this is like crazy
about Microsoft earlier, right?
Yeah.
And their investment in AI. I actually see the good in AI in those types of situations because the cost of reviewing billions of lines of code, doing manual code reviews.
No way you can do that. Even not the cost. It's not tangible in like something that,
with AI, it's now become tangible. I mean, if I'm Microsoft and I'm looking at AI and after SolarWinds and all the 0 days I've been through in the last 3 years, I'm looking at OpenAI and I know what they invested like $200 million or $300 million, something along those lines. I forgot that number. So people, you can comment and correct both me and Demi here. We're not arguing that we know what the number was.
Yeah.
But even if they took that
right
and they said, go scan all of our source code now and show us all the major vulnerabilities. And if you and if you think of what that does to Microsoft, who are now an ERP security company at this point.
Yep.
Like Microsoft is synonymous with security. Sentinel, I think, is the third most popular SIM on the
they're on practically the in every large enterprise in the world today.
If you've got Microsoft 365, if you're a Microsoft E5 shop, you've got Sentinel. If you've got Sentinel, you're using Sentinel over Splunk. Splunk knows this. Everyone else knows this.
Yep.
Right? Like they're taking over that SIM space. It's very hard to argue that you wouldn't use AI for that.
You're like implicitly using that, right?
Yeah.
By literally every service that we're using today, even on the, we're using Zoom, Teams, etc. All of that is leveraging AI behind the scenes, okay? Without you even like ticking any box. You don't need to do anything. They're trying to improve the service. They're trying to whatever, like transcript. That's it. It's like, I won't say it's game over. It's game on. And right now, we as security practitioners and technology people have to respond to that and try to classify. So if, you know what, let's like take it a step forward. Threat modeling, okay?
Yep.
In any threat modeling framework that I've seen today, I haven't seen focus in AI. But for years already, I would say 5 to 10 years going back, you're already like implicitly using that. Why are people not looking on it? Because it's hard. It wasn't tangible like right now where we're seeing the generative AI world and everybody are like, it's the next buzzword, right? Okay.
I'm wondering, RSA's next week, right?
Yeah.
I'm wondering how many, like, so I'll put out a contest, right? I'll send someone maybe a t-shirt or something. If you send me tag me in every picture that has AI on a booth in RSA.
Oh, that's great. You can create a thread of people actually like uploading the images to the thread. And the most successful one will get an awesome t-shirt.
Right. Like the best, the worst, we'll do the top AI usage and the worst AI usage. And both people who upload those will win a t-shirt or something. I like that idea. That's a contest right there. That's just game on, right? Because like to me, that's what I'm curious about. Now, I'll tell you what I am looking forward to. Black Hat with OpenAI.
Yeah.
And I hear OpenAI is going to do a hackathon because they just launched their bug bounty program. So I hear they're going to do a bug bounty event at Black Hat. Now that's something I can't wait to see.
For both sides. Firstly, attacking the AI and attacking with the AI.
Correct.
I think both prisms are I think like, I don't know, 5 years back, I did a talk at Imperva about something related again to security and open source intelligence. And Guy, one of the founders of Prefer, actually told about work that he had done at Intel. Again, seeing how you can like skew AI mechanisms, etc. This is one way of actually like fooling the AI to doing something.
I mean, we talked about the misinformation, disinformation aspect of AI. I'm no stranger to the fact that what we're seeing today is very similar to how the U.S. Army released the internet.
Wow.
Right?
If you go back that way back.
When they or Onion, think of the Tor browser. When the NSA released Tor as an open source product, people were like, "Oh wow!" And you're like, "They've got something way better than this. That's why they're letting this one out."
Yeah,
because they've got something way better, far more advanced. That this tool's become cumbersome.
I agree, and again, it's frightening to think about all the things that we do not know about. And
with AI,
yeah, of course.
I mean, I think about AI on the biometric side of the house.
No, again, frightening as hell. And we don't have to tell people that it's a fiction because, dude, look on the Matrix. Like literally, this is what they alluded to, right? Or the Terminator, which is like even worse.
I feel like
I don't know what's worse. You know what? Right now, looking back, what's worse, the Matrix or the Terminator?
Well, the Terminator.
Both of them kind of annihilated human beings in different ways.
In different ways.
Yeah.
I don't know. What was a better journey, though?
You know, I liked The Matrix better.
Me too.
As a movie, you know.
As
it tells the story better.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with The Matrix on that one because I'll tell you something. Having seen all the Terminator series ones, like I feel like the Terminator got overdone, but Matrix has never been overdone.
Right?
No one tried to make a Matrix TV show.
No,
but there's been a Terminator TV show. They tried to do spin-offs for all kinds of characters in the turn. They've ruined the story. That's what Hollywood does best, by the way. They ruin good stories by trying to do bad spin-offs.
Yep. So because of that, you need to catch that early, watch the first movies, and pretend you don't want to watch the rest.
So like John Wick, right?
Yeah.
Like John Wick, like, you know, the guy never misses a shot, but apparently everyone who shoots at John Wick misses him.
Sort of like The Matrix, but yeah.
Kind of, right? So that's it for I know we're a bit over time here, but everyone who's traveling to RSA, have a good time. Panorays, you're not going to be there.
Me personally, no, but we have a team that actually will be there. But yeah.
Yeah, go check out the Panorays booth, y'all, at RSA. Say hi if you're there at the event. Otherwise, I think we're going to be hanging out in Black Hat.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Vegas, here we come. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Demi,
James,
thanks
pleasure.
For here,
Thank you very much.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Bye-bye.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.